think most people, when they buy a car, man, always a little curious what they're gonna get. Not really exactly sure. Something that we say to people all the time, hey, grab a car, go take it to a detailer. Go try and figure out what needs to be replaced, what can be refurbished, what can be fixed, or maybe even needs to be repainted.
Yeah, no, this is a great example. We had somebody contact us here locally to you, say, hey, I just bought this used car, new car to me. I just want you to tell me what's going on. He sees some spots, but he doesn't know what he's looking at. And it's perfectly okay to go to somebody and say, hey, I need to know what's happening here. I need to know my next steps because I want my car to look as good as I can. And that's the exact situation we're in here. Unfortunately, in this case, we have lots of damage. So it's going to give us a time to talk to you guys and show you why we scream about protection and why we scream about maintenance. This car is 6 years old, not very many miles, not heavily driven. And we're in some situations here that we may be talking about sanding the car, repainting parts of the car, repainting and refinishing all the wheels, and nothing other than consistently protecting it and keeping it protected and maintaining it would have fixed all of that. Yeah. So that's why we harp on it. And it's look, this is why this is a great vehicle to have in here, because guess what? This guy cares about it and he doesn't know what he's looking at. And guess what? Now he's going to get some news that says, hey, we got a plan, but we're also going to be able to tell him this was all avoidable.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the beauty of paint, right? Paint is almost like a roadmap to what's happened in the past.
Yeah, 100%.
You can try and hide some things, which you'll see, some touch up. You can try and hide, and you'll also see things that you can't hide. Having a car wash myself, being an owner of a car wash and a mobile detailer, you in your business, what you do is mobile detailing and the shop, we always have people come into us and they'll go, oh, how come you didn't get my bugs off?
Yeah, this right here depends on where you live, okay? Midwest during the summer, the South during the summer and the spring, the Southwest, hell, even some spots driving back and forth from Phoenix to Vegas to San Diego to Vegas, we can get some spots. I'm here to tell you, these are permanent.
Yeah.
Okay, all that happened here, bug hits the front end, it stays on the front end, bugs are acidic, sun hits it, weeks go by, months go by, then they decide, I'm gonna go to a car wash. We can see the brush marks all over the front of this vehicle. Well, the car wash can only remove the loose bug that's there, it can't remove the damage of the bug being etched permanently into the clear coat. So there's one of two fixes here. Sand that off, and you might have to go so far that it's a repaint situation. So one of the interesting things here is, I know people watch our channel and probably think to themselves, why do these guys always talk about protection and maintenance? All the damage we're gonna see on this front area, all avoidable, right? Besides a little dent that could be fixed by a PDR guy in 5 seconds, every single piece of damage on the front end of this car, avoidable.
Absolutely.
All of it. It hasn't been in a wreck, which at times is not avoidable. It's called an accident. Trim pieces aren't loose from an accident. Front end hasn't been hit.
Headlights look all right.
Headlights look like in good shape. Every piece of damage.
Plastics are okay.
Yeah, every piece of damage is from the lack of protection on the car and the lack of maintenance. So as we walk around, Marty, what's some of the stuff that you see?
Well, you know, that one was definitely noticeable. They come around just nonstop, and you can see from small to large, right?
Yep.
And then you mentioned the brush strokes, okay? This is the nightmare of it, because they let it sit too long, and then they might have thought to themselves, hey, I can just go brush it off.
At a self-serve type car wash.
Self-serve type car wash, yeah. And you see these massively long scratches, and some of them are very deep, right? That was my eyes went to the bugs, and then straight next to, oh, somebody really tried to clean them off, but there's so many bugs here, that roadmap that we talked about tells me that he let them sit he didn't protect, or maybe he just put some wax. How I use that like clear coat at the end of the wash, right? Hey, I put this, something X.
Which by the way, doesn't work. That's why he's laughing.
That's why I'm laughing, right? I don't want to call certain names of brands, but they have this belief that you can spray some stuff on that it's going to protect for years.
Yeah.
Right?
That's the fun. I mean, there's spray and rinse products that we have and others have. They do work, but they don't work when the bug's already etched in. And now you're just protecting over it. In a lot of cases, making it worse.
Well, and they don't work for months and months and months at a time
Yeah.
when that bug sits on there for 3 weeks baking in 100-degree weather.
And by the way, that's probably a short number on 3 weeks.
Absolutely. And plus, we talk about coatings are chemical resistant.
Yep.
A wax is not chemical. These are plenty of evidence. We can see evidence in every car that you walk around. This is the funny part on the Pints of Polishing podcast.
Yep.
You talk about going into, I think even with your daughter, right?
Yeah.
Like
walk a parking lot.
Yeah.
Walk a parking lot, a Target, a Walmart, a Sam's Club, a Costco. You'll see millions of dollars in cars, because those are large parking lots in the end, and you'll see nothing but damage, and all of it preventable. We're not talking about accidents. Okay, we're not talking about somebody bumped into somebody. We're talking about this is preventable. And again, this isn't to get preachy. We get questions like this all the time. This guy right here is live in person with that question. Okay, so then we get them as emails, then we get them as comments, then we get them as DMs. Guys, we harp on the things that we know are going to make the biggest difference. And so, like you said, here's a funny thing about car wash brushes, whether it's a self-serve or a brush that you drive through. The reason you get these scratches may not necessarily be the brush like most people think, although that's a culprit. What did the guy have on his car, or the 10 people, or the 100 people that came before you? Rocks, pebbles, sticks that you can't see in that brush, and you're just, or you're in that tunnel, and you don't know what those 100 cars that day had on them.
Well, listen, you also don't know. We talked a minute in some other video, you talked about it. Foam, what does foam do? Foam isn't the lubricant.
No.
It's not.
It's the show.
But there's plenty of show that goes on with foam inside of, whether it's a self-serve or it's a tunnel type car wash, that it's not actually lubricating, and then you call it brushes, soft cloth, you can call it whatever you want. There's a lot of soaps that go out onto cars that don't actually have proper lubrication in it. You go, hey, I'm getting a great deal rolling through them. I'm getting a great deal by going out and scrub. I bet you the roadmap, when we go back to this guy when he's doing it, he never imagined. He's using
100%.
a soap, he's got this brush, and he's just going, and he's never thinking these long lines that he's putting in.
Yeah.
These deep scratches.
And so here's the funny thing. More than likely, this car was traded in because the person was unhappy with the condition the car was in. The number one reason people trade in cars is not because they don't like that car anymore. And we're talking about on the average, okay? They know, dealerships know, that if you pull up and your car's in bad shape, they're gonna send it to their recon department immediately, okay, right? It's about $1,500, depends on where you live, $1,500 to $2,500 that they already know they're gonna have to put into every car that they take in on trade, okay? So they've already allotted that money. They know you're in there and that you're a sucker to be had because you're embarrassed about the condition your car is in. If you don't believe me, talk to people that own big dealerships. They know the number one reason people are coming in to trade this car in is because of the shape that it's in. All avoidable. Now, that doesn't mean you're not going to trade your car in, but let's just say, I love this car, I don't want to trade it in, but Nick, it looks so bad. We get those phone calls all the time. I'm just so unhappy with how my car looks. Avoidable. Let's point some other things out here.
Yeah, let's go to the next one. It's a good call.
So hopefully we've shot some other with another camera, but we'll talk here to this camera. We have essentially 3 dire situations here. Okay, maybe 4 or 5 on your side there. Somebody got some tree sap on their car. Okay? Tree sap's not fun to deal with. Okay? And I understand that. And now you know it's not fun to deal with because somebody got real pissed off to get this sap off. So what'd they do? Best case scenario, they grabbed a plastic razor blade. That's the best case scenario from what I see here. And I'm guessing that's probably what it was. Or a brush, or a scrub pad. And so they just start hammering down on this thing. And guess what? This is not only still etched where it was, Okay, you can still see the sap mark. Now the whole area, about this big, okay, that whole area is completely damaged.
Man, I don't even know if they use something like a plastic razor blade. It's almost like they would have grabbed, it, you know, you see this damage, then you see this, you go, I wonder if that guy didn't even think plastic razor blade.
Brush? Yeah, like a real stiff brush. That's kind of what it looks like. You could be right there. Then we have this area that we don't even know if we can sand that out, by the way.
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
Basically, if we were going to fix this for a client at my shop, here's what I would say to the client. I'm going to sand all the areas that need sanding, but if I burn through the clear coat, you were headed for repaint anyway. So I'm going to do everything that I can, but you need to be ready to go to repaint. Otherwise, I'm not going to touch the sandpaper because you don't know with this. This looks pretty deep.
Yeah, you got the ones that he tried. You got the ones here that he just left alone. There's no markings around it. So when he got to these, he probably already dealt with those and like, screw it, I'm out. And so they've just completely eaten away.
Yep.
Done.
Then we got the worst offender. We actually have live sap that's on the car here, and it looks like it's gotten completely beneath the surface. And now it's into the clear coat as sap that hasn't been cleaned off.
Like this one is right here, right? You see this ring around, and then you've got the
So
other.
what actually happens is the sap eats itself all the way through. Now it's underneath everything, and guess what's happening? The clear coat's actually starting
To degrade.
to just degrade all around it. We have a situation, this may be repaint right here, all because you didn't get off the car. I understand, man.
All because you didn't protect it.
And you didn't protect it. If this, now look, this is a misconception about ceramic coating. Ceramic coating could be just the same type of damage. The difference is the ceramic coating took the damage, and now all you have to do is remove the ceramic coating and reapply. You can't remove the paint and reapply without going to the body shop and repainting it. So there's a lot of people that get a misconception about protection on the level of paint protection film or ceramic coating. Hey, if it eats away at the paint protection film or the ceramic coating, yeah, you may have to replace this whole hood piece of paint protection film, but guess what? You're not having to have the car repainted, right? So there's another understanding of what protection really does. If you're actually going to neglect your vehicle like this, ceramic coating or paint protection film is almost a must. For somebody that's going to stay on top of this and wash their car every 5 days, they'd probably be fine with a wax, with a sealant. It's not as good, but this is the understanding of these levels. If you're going to neglect your vehicle, you're almost, to me, you have to have ceramic coating on just to give yourself a prayer.
Yeah, I would say, because the value of what people are spending on these today, why would you risk that on a wax, on a spray, on something like you wouldn't. What you can do is what we talk about plenty. Reason why we came out with Stack, a rapid ceramic coating. There's literally no more excuses anymore.
Every 9 months, man, just
like
wipe it on in 10 minutes.
And the reports we get back is, you know, tree sap lands and then it just comes off. I love the stories I've gotten from people that gone to the airport. They put on ceramic coating, they put on our ceramic coating, and then they leave their car out, but then the birds hit it. Most of us, right, we'd walk out and we'd see that car and we'd go, oh my word. Well, they get back and instead of that flat bird dropping where it's, the bird dropping has actually pulled itself into a ball because it couldn't stick.
And they just rinse it off.
And they just take it off.
And so we'll keep going here. We have some interesting things. We have bugs. We are in a complete repaint situation, probably on both sides on the side mirrors. Okay? These are not salvageable. They're nicked up in other ways, but they're not salvageable because there's not that much paint there to begin with, and this is eating away at the paint. And so these two side mirrors are toast. They're in a complete repaint situation. And again, this guy likes this car. I'm sure the previous owner liked the car, okay? But this is what happens when you let damage. We have some bird droppings that have eaten through the clear coat over here on this door, which is pretty hard to do considering it's just below the door sill. And it just was on there long enough, and now game is over.
We definitely know they were self-serve guy because you still see up here these real long So you get into these places where you go, okay,
That makes
that's a
sense.
logical place for somebody to do this. And I see these long ones here. I see a lot of scratch marks up here, a lot. Like, very interesting. So he would have been somebody that set things up here.
Yep.
Right? He definitely set things up
Yeah,
when
if
he
you,
was going.
if you have like a consistent pattern of scratches on your roof, on a tonneau cover, on a trunk, you can almost always spot somebody that sets boxes and things on there because they're very, very consistent.
Well, that's right, exactly. When you mentioned trunk, that's why I came back here. You can see back here. You see a lot of, remember this is, we don't see very many anymore. Remember the gentlemen that would carry briefcases?
Yeah.
We were businessmen, right?
And they would put it.
Yep, put it there, or, you'd see them hit it into stuff here, or they would set it here, right? Set their briefcase down, open their door.
Yep, and an obvious place we knew was going to be banged up after looking to the rest of the car was right by the trunk.
Oh, yeah.
Not just the trunk lid, but going into the trunk, getting things in and out of your trunk. One thing I always tell people is, if you care about your car and you're in and out of your trunk, you carry a lot of stuff with you. Maybe you
sit
put
things on it. Yeah.
Here, well, I'll give you a better one. PPF that area.
Oh, yeah, there you
Put
go.
a strip there. Save yourself.
If you know you're going to be somebody that set things down on.
Yeah, I mean, like our grocery getter, our family vehicle, it's got a big ledge on the back. Guess the first thing I did? I'm not even going to argue with my family about setting things or whatever. They're not like us, right? They're living their life. We're insane about cars. I just took a piece of PPF, boom. When that piece of PPF gets damaged, it's going to get ripped off. New one's going to be put in. I don't have to scream and yell about, don't set this, right? You don't have to do that. And so these are sort of the things. I think a lot of this is you got to know how you're going to treat your car to start making the right decisions, right? And we get asked all the time when we reference bird droppings or etching of paint or what does it look like? And here we are with a live thing that we get to share where a guy has come directly to you and said, can you analyze my car? And he's hoping to learn the skills. That's the other great thing about this car. He's hoping to learn the skills that he can do this himself. But you said it at the beginning of the video, far too many people don't just reach out to someone and say, hey, can you analyze my car? Now, folks, that might cost you $100. Take an hour of someone's time. Don't expect a professional to do anything for free for you.
Please, thank you.
You wouldn't expect an attorney, you wouldn't expect anybody, right? And have them analyze a car before you buy it. Had this guy come to us, now he came afterwards because he knows he wants to work on it himself, but if he had come to us and said, hey Marty, I'm gonna pay you $100, I really love this car, I just want to have you come out and see if you see something. You'd drive down there and you'd have seen all of this and you'd have gone, okay, here's what I'm gonna tell you, man, doesn't mean don't buy it. If you're getting a deal that fits for you and you can live with, hey, I'll paint my mirrors a little down the road, I'll fix my rims up. We didn't even really talk heavily about those. These rims are basically toast.
We'll talk about it here.
Yeah, and you start talking out loud about some of this stuff. To me, I've made a lot of my money in the car business by buying cars like this and just putting in the money, obviously with some of the elbow grease we can put in, but I wouldn't put elbow grease into this front end. I'd have it painted. That's just my honest opinion. It's not even gonna, by the time I sand it and put all the time in it, I could have had it repainted.
It's not like it's just one section.
Yeah, it's all down on the front lip.
It's not like it's just right here.
I would literally, just so you know, we'll finish here and then we're gonna just start, cleaning up this car and giving it back to them with an assessment. This hood and this whole front clip would get painted. That's what I would tell somebody. Because I know what it would cost to have somebody like me come in here and sand this.
And you wouldn't even
know if you could get it where you wanted to go anyway.
I know your skill set, but
you don't even know.
Yeah.
So this is a really cool, I'm glad this came in. This has not said anything out of judgment either.
No.
Like this is just us. We get so many questions about damage and why we harp on what we harp on. This is such an awesome, I'm so happy for this kid. He's gonna have a lot of fun with this car and he is ready to put the time in, right? So he got a good deal. He's ready to put the time in. He's ready to learn about these things, and we thought we could share it with people on our YouTube channel.
Absolutely. Let's start washing.
All right, guys.